Obviously, you still have feelings for me, Q. I don't know why you're so afraid to me someday, so...
Must be nice.
Well, finally.
But thanks.
Jin, wasn't that your record, though?
Records were made to be broken.
What's on for you? First day?
Yes, so basically in season 3 of EXO Kitty, the relationship between Q and Jin faces its biggest test yet due to the return of Q's formal flame and the reveal of a summer secret, in this case the return of Marius. But before we get into further details and discuss everything, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. If you guys don't know, Netflix just released the season 3 of EXO Kitty, and so far it's definitely delivering everything that everybody thought it would, especially when it comes to the relationship of, in this case, Q and Jin, and also the involvement of Marius, who is the former lover and fling, in this case, of, Q. To be honest, I had very high hopes for the series. It definitely paid off to watch it. Super straight to the point, and I love the fact that, their story got a lot of, screen time. It just makes the plot and the series even more amazing. So let's speak a little bit about everything that actually developed. So Marius is a student with whom Q had a secret closeted fling in the past. He returns to kids, in this case the school, and basically threatens the stability of Q and Jin's relationship because he actually ends up coming back to the school because he wants to make things right with Q and basically, try to reflame or to rekindle, everything that they had in the past because, they didn't end things in a very, very good way. But obviously, in this case, you can see that Q is definitely deeply involved with Jin. He only has eyes, for Jin, but obviously the return of Marius also made him feel kind of, causing a little bit of instability. Marius uses a photo from their past summer together to basically blackmail, in this case, blackmail Q, attempt to keep this a secret from Jin, but obviously things don't end up going that way because you can clearly see later on, there's the moment where things basically took a very, very big turn for the two. So at this point, you can see that Q, he's trying his best to hide everything from Jin. He doesn't want Jin to find out about the photo that he sent during the summer to Marius. And obviously, he's just trying his best to also for Marius just to keep his mouth, closed and not tell anything and, let him tell things on his own time. But there actually was an event at the restaurant, that obviously Q's mother was also there. They were having just a conversation about his future and what is his plans, after school. So, they got into this heated argument when, in this case, Jin actually ends up finding out about the photo. He actually ends up, confronting, Q. Q explained everything. And during that moment, a situation happened where accidentally, he hit, in this case, Q. Q tried to run after him to explain, and they basically call it, they actually call the break for that moment. They call it quits for a short period of time. So during that period of time, while they called it quits, you can see that Marius and Q, they started to hang out a little bit more. Like I said, Marius was persistent in getting him back. But during a very, very deep conversation that the two were having, you can basically see that, Marius was trying to tell Q that, even took him to a spot that they used to go out, when they were dealing with each other. And during that whole situation, that's like that whole moment that they were having together, you can clearly see that there was like the breaking moment where, in this case, we can see that in this case, Q, he really realized that the person who he wants to be with is Jin, and finally he called it quits, and finally put an end to his and Maria's situation, feelings, emotions, whatever they had going on, because he realized that the person who he doesn't want to lose is, in this case, Jin, and he wants to make it right with him. Obviously, after that, you can just see him trying to make things right with Jin, just trying to spend time, be patient, and just try to, regain his, like, to regain his trust and just regain, their relationship. Obviously, he had it tough. Jin didn't make it easy for him. But as time went by, you can clearly see, that Jin finally have decided, to put the differences aside and just to give their relationship another try, which is pretty good if you ask me, because it's like you can see that he was really hurt by Q's actions and he was hurt for how things played out. And, he had to make it hard for him too, so that he doesn't have to have things like so easy for him, so basically they made a return. He apologized. In this case, at the end of the series, you can see that Jin apologized, not apologized in this case, like accepted his apology, and they basically rekindled their relationship. Obviously, there was also a moment where Marius, Q, and Jin had a three on conversation. That was also a lot of clarity. That also helped Jin, to also forgive, in this case, Q. That was a very, very, very good mature move. So this was also a very important point. So yes, guys, that's the story of the two. If you want more details, I will highly recommend you also go ahead, go watch it on Netflix. Definitely worth the watch. Definitely amazing. So go watch, go support, and also please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe.